Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about upsells and all of the ways that UltraCart makes upsells easy, and it makes them complicated, and it gives you the ability to do almost anything you want to do in terms of upselling and offering your customers new and interesting products, upsells, upgrades, cross-sells, and bundles. Today, we're going to cover things a little bit differently. We're going to look at we have a demonstration store that we've built. I'll be sharing. Sorry. Called Zen Audio. Now, in Zen Audio, we're selling headphones, and our goal is to get customers from past just buying the base model and choosing their color and upgrading to more new and more interesting products. So the first place that we find upsells work well is in the checkout itself. So to demonstrate this, we're going to go ahead and add Midnight Black to our cart here and go to checkout. And we've found three great places that work for upsells within the checkout. This is the scaling checkout that we've developed over the years that we find very flexible. So the first one here is what we call an order replacement bump. It's a place where you can put a special item at a special price that replaces the item that's there. So if there's multiple items, you could have multiple of these bumps if you want. In this case, trying to upgrade people from the base model to our Pro model for a special deal. When you click that, it replaces the target item and upgrades the product. Checkout updates accordingly. Another place is the commonly used frequently purchased with that uses the related item system to show you one or more frequently purchased with products. In this case, we have a case that we developed. So we'll go ahead and add that to the cart. And then finally, we have the slider option version. And this is a great place for warranties or shipping protection or upgrade to subscription, those sorts of things. So that can be added with a simple click, and the cart updates accordingly. Now, we've found, after having done a lot of these for clients, that every different product line and site and customer base responds to upsells differently. And so it's really all about experimenting with what works and doesn't work. The in-checkout upsells, in our experience, have around a 10 to 15% take rate in terms of overall average order value increase, at least in our experiments. All of these odd elements can be added as an experiment with UltraCart, so it's easy to test how these work and what they can do for your customer base. I should note that if you have questions, make sure you go to the bottom right of your screen. There's a Q&A button. Go ahead and click that. Tyler will be collecting all the questions, and we'll cover everything at the end. So make sure you ask anything you want, and we can cover anything you like. The next step, the next place that we find upsells work very well is in, I have to change my share briefly. Is at the post-checkout level. A lot of people are familiar with this. In this case, I've already pre-filled it out. We've got the black headphones. We don't have any in-checkout upsells. In this case, if I did my card correctly, in this case, we're showing offers after the checkout and after the payment has been captured. And this is the more traditional way of doing upsells. This has been done. We've done this for years now. It's one of the most effective ways we've found to create upsells and to upsell customers. They've made the commitment to buy. Interestingly enough, lots of studies have shown that the time people are most likely to spend more money with you is when they have just spent money with you. So in this case, you can see here, we're once again offering the Plus Pro as an upgrade. So we'll go ahead and take that offer. We've come up with a charging station that looks interesting. So let's go ahead and say, sure, let's get the charger. And then here's our warranty plan. And we'll say no to the warranty plan. Once processed, everything's added to cart, and the order is processed. Now, a lot of people wonder how you set stuff up like that and what options are available. So we'll go ahead and jump back into the back end here, and I'll let Jonathan take over and talk you through how we configure these and what options are available.
All right. So let's take a look at the upsell configuration within storefronts. So to get to upsells, you're going to navigate to your storefront, then you're going to expand the content section, and then you're going to click on upsells. Upsells are grouped into paths, and then inside each path, you'll see you can have variations. And in his top example here, he has two variations, the original and the variant. And then within each path, you can have mini offers. And I'll let him discuss the offers he has set up and walk you through that in a bit. But within a path, you have settings for who goes down this path. So in this example, you have a set of trigger items. If the cart has the particular trigger item, you want them to go into this path. So for example, if you have lines of business, maybe a particular supplement, you'll have a path that is complementary to that, or a particular product line. You'll have a path of additional offers. You can get a little bit more sophisticated with some of the other options, such as @data, which is a third-party data broker that can help you identify, do you have a male or a female customer, what's their approximate age range, etc. And you can decide whether these paths are a one path or they cascade down on each other. So you can build increasingly complicated upsell sequences. It can get a little too much. You got to be careful that you don't have the upsell gauntlet of doom, as we refer to it. So you might want to set the maximum number of offers that a customer is going to view within that particular path so that you don't get too carried away. So we'll go ahead and let you explain what you have here, Chris, and walk them through that.
So for this one, we're bringing anyone in that has the red, black, or white base model. We're not limiting on any other things. We are allowing it to cascade to the next path. And this is a post checkout, and we'll cover this in a bit. And we want to make sure that no matter what, someone only sees a single node within this path. We've configured an A/B test here between two different variations. 50% of customers will hit each one in this case. And we're testing the price point of the Pro model at $199 versus $149 to see what the take rate and what the customer response to that is. And we can jump into one of these and how you configure any individual node, and I'll let Jonathan take back over.
Okay. So you want to give your upsell a short but meaningful name at the top, because that's what you're gonna see in your path, and so that name is gonna help you keep organized. The next thing you're gonna see is a preview of what the page layout is, so you can quickly see it without having to drive into the editor itself. You'll see that he has the particular offer, the upsell item. That's what he's pitching to the customer in this offer. It's active. You can set your upsells to be only visible for test orders. This is great when you're working on a new offer. You don't want customers to see it yet, but you want to use your test credit cards and experience the upsell offer and really make sure it's polished before you spring that on them. You do have a large number of additional options available. The arbitrary unit cost, that's where you can take the same particular item ID and just change its price. So for example, this item's normal price is $199, but in the other offer, he may want to test it at $149. You can set that arbitrary unit cost right there. You can even set it by day of week if you want to mess around with that kind of stuff to kind of work on what works and what doesn't. You can set dates when the offer goes live and ends. So if you have a particular offer and you want it for a week before a holiday or something like that, like extra rush, shipping before Thanksgiving or an offer like that, you can set a time range where that offer will go live or not. Going down into the advanced section, this can get very advanced. The primary one is what item do you want to trigger it? So while his path had 3 different trigger items, the red, the black, and the white, This particular offer, we only want to trigger on the black basic model because we're upselling the black premium model. So you can set that trigger item. And in this case, he wants to replace it. So he's chosen to remove the trigger item from there. You can get into we'll go through some of these other ones. First time purchase. Are they a first time purchaser from your store? Or would it be the first time they've purchased this particular offer? So you may want to only offer subscriptions to new customers on a product and not offer it a subscription upsell to existing customers because you might be cannibalizing your customer base with your new subscription program when they're going to buy from you anyways. A lot of large item merchants are going to work with tags, so they don't have these huge long lists of items. If you're in a very high SKU count store, you're probably familiar with organizing things by tags. So if the cart contains any product that has a particular tag, we want to show this upsell.
And likewise, suppress. We've actually used suppression a lot.
We'll skip over the black belt calculate dynamic feature that's in alpha development. That's a little sophisticated for this webinar. Accessory item IDs, those are like little add-ons. If they take the upsell, we want to slide this additional accessory item in there or remove it. It's a fairly complicated scenario, but certain merchants have offers where they need to, maybe the main product had an accessory item that's always with it. We want to kind of replace that with the pro model accessory item. All right. The countries, you can trigger and suppress on countries. You may have an offer that you really only want in the United States. Maybe it's heavy to ship offer or something like that, or a regulatory reason. You can suppress that. Likewise, if you have someone doing express mail and you have a heavy upsell offer that could really influence shipping costs, you might want to trigger or suppress on that. It's not common, not terribly commonly used, but it's there if you have that scenario. And then we touched on it before. At Data is that third-party data broker you can use. And so I think Chris will give us a demonstration of how he has an upsell configured to use the gender option. You really should be designing your content to be responsive. If you're using the visual builder to do the entire upsell, then your content's going to be mobile responsive. But if there's some reason that an upsell doesn't work with a particular device format, you can suppress that device format. Removable on confirmation just gives them one final confirmation screen at the end in case they want to remove an upsell. I wouldn't turn that on personally if I didn't have to, but that's what that does. Locking the shipping keeps the upsell item from impacting the shipping cost, and then some additional options there. So,
Jonathan, did you want to cover what the off-site content URL does?
Yeah. So some merchants have, especially if they're coming to us from, other platforms. One example, merchant has literally like 1,000 upsell pages on Unbounce that they had built. And they're like, we're going to migrate slowly the ones that work real well, but we want to move everything over. So the way this works is instead of the content being in UltraCart, it's on an offsite URL. You give us that URL and we will redirect the customer over to that particular URL. Then it's your job as a developer when they click the yes button or the no button to send the browser back with a redirect to the confirm yes or confirm no URLs that we provide there. So it's just an option if you have a lot of existing content and you want to be able to monetize it and slowly port it over.
That's great. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay.
So I kind of walk you through how we constructed this demonstration. So as I mentioned before, we're demonstrating the fact that you can set up a test of a whole path. In this case, we're using the 149. We're using the arbitrary item to show that at 149 versus 159. These offers then cascade to the next offer, which in this case, we're demonstrating the option of a male versus a female offer. So we had the one we saw in the demonstration, which was this sport model of the wireless charger. For women, we came up with one that was a more female-focused one. Again, these were kind of silly, obviously designed by an AI, but we thought they were kind of fun and demonstrated what was possible. So under that scenario, we focused it on the women, and so that'll only show if ad data returns that that the user might be female. We've got the men, and if it's unknown, going to the first one. And we've set this so that it's someone will only see one offer, so someone should only see the men, the sport or the luxe. It then cascades to the third step, which we're showing a test of a specific node, in this case, a carrying case or an extended warranty, to test which one gets a better take rate. Generally speaking, we've found that post-checkout, 3 is sort of a sweet spot with the number of offers to give any given user. We've done as many as 5. Obviously, the more you give, the farther they go through the upsell path, the less likely they are to purchase subsequent ones. So we spend a lot of time testing what the first thing they see is and focusing a lot of effort there and testing there. So we didn't cover downsells. In this case, for example, we could set it up such that if they didn't take the carrying case, we could offer them the carrying case at a discounted price or a different sort of case, any number of things. You can offer subscription within the post-checkout upsells. You have to be careful doing that because of, you got to make sure you get positive consent from customers that they know they're getting a subscription. So we don't tend to do that as much in the post-checkout. In addition, you can get very sophisticated with the actual upsell itself and have multiple items within a single upsell, or 136 type CTAs. You can do an awful lot of things. You can also have the cart itself persistent through the upsell so they can see what their total is as they go. And we didn't demonstrate that in this. So the third type of upsell that we often use, let's get back to our base store here, is something that's fairly new and is not used nearly as often by merchants. I have to clear our cart out real quick. And this is a pre-checkout upsell. And this is actually configured in the same system here, but you'll notice there's this thing that says post-checkout. There's a node called pre-checkout. And the way those work is you configure it so that there's a trigger that fires that in a modal. So in this case, once again, we'll order black. But this case, we're going to give the same sort of offers, but this time before the checkout. So here's our upgrade to the Pro model. So we'll go ahead and say yes, and that'll replace the one in the cart. We'll get a second one, and here's the case. We'll say no or yes to the case. And then the warranty plan in this case. So we'll just say no to the warranty. That populates the cart. They can check out like normal. We've had a lot of interesting luck, particularly with bundles, subscription upgrades, and those sorts of things in the pre-checkout step, because customers really know what they're getting as they go through. It's also a great place to do tests of those upsells, because just like the pre-checkout, post-checkout upsell, you can build paths, experiments, upsells, downsells within this. So you can build very sophisticated upsell paths. This can also be used as sort of a builder system. So you could have people select a varying set of steps as they go forward and construct what their package or bundle or whatever it is. And we've done some stuff like that. It's very exciting. And I think there's a lot of room. I think this is one of the most underutilized features within UltraCart. And the fact that you can test those things, it makes it incredibly powerful. All of these have statistics that can be viewed. So in this case, there's obviously very little statistics because this is just a demonstration store, but you can start to see which nodes perform in an experiment. You can see what experiments and start to get a comparison for what your average visitor revenue and profit is happening. And this is really the North Star of how you really test and optimize post-checkout, is just to continually work that number up slowly. We generally see fully optimized. We can get as far as doubling AOV in some cases with all the upsells, and you can combine any of these together in any form to build sort of that ideal system.
I mean, we're working with some of the best merchants on the UltraCart platform. upsells are crucial to their success. Matter of fact, when they talk about alternative payments have been a hot topic over the last 2 years, and we have another one coming down the pipe with PayPal Fastlane, and it's the common factor we hear out of people is it compatible with upsells? Because I'm not willing to give up my upsell revenue to have a different payment method. And so it truly is one of their key revenue drivers to their profitability. A couple of takeaways: keep the offers simple. Simplicity, clarity. You want them to be able to make a quick decision. Use the testing to optimize and give yourself time to test those offers to get to an optimal state. And just like in all marketing, people engage with content that feels more personalized, right? Pitching that masculine or feminine, product to the right group, or age demographic yields better results. And for example, if you have a repeat customer, don't pitch them priority processing if you've already pitched it to them in the past, or don't pitch them priority processing if they're already picking a high speed shipping method. So try to just keep it simple, and you can generate quite a bit of additional revenue.
To add some clarification to that, when he's talking about the payment methods, that's specifically for post checkout upsells. Some payment methods will and won't allow that secondary steps to happen before the checkout happens. That's been huge. I think UltraCart may be the only platform that integrates with some of the methods such as PayPal, Google Pay, Apple Pay, with post-checkout upsells, and it's just been huge having those integrated and working. The other two methods, the in-checkout and the pre-checkout method, of course, would work with any payment method since they just create the cart on the front end.
Okay.
So with that, Tyler, do we have any interesting questions?
Yes. Thank you, Chris and Jonathan. We did have a few questions come through, and I think they should be pretty straightforward. But yeah, we'll go through these, and if you all have any questions as I'm going through this, feel free to just post them, and we'll do them live, or we'll follow up afterwards with answers to the questions. The first question we had was early on when you were going through the upsells. You showed an example with a discount. How is that is it possible to configure a discount on an item when it's in the upsell? And if so, how is that done?
Absolutely. So I can give you an example right here with this one. Let's get out of stats mode. So in this case, the base item is set to $199. But by setting an arbitrary cost of $149 here, when we actually look at the test of it, you can see the price here. This is actually a dynamic object. The price is here. We didn't set it up when we were configuring this hastily. That could have the original price with a slash and you save right here. And that's actually one of the greatest things of this. You don't have to go create a whole bunch of special items for these tests. You can arbitrarily, incrementally test the pricing around this, and you don't have to guess at what the pricing is. One thing I love about doing price tests in upsells is that you don't have to change that price on the front end of your site for all customers. You can start to show it selectively at the back and kind of get that feel for where those price points are. And that's actually something we've used it a lot for, is to test price thresholds for main items just to understand what does work. And it's always surprising. You can always charge a little bit more than you think.
Nice. All right. And then next, can we do a single upsell that offers the typical single purchase, or will also offer like a subscribe and save type deal and things like that in a single upsell?
Yeah, Jonathan, you want to cover that?
Sure. So your offer item, if you're familiar with doing this on the front end, you have a parent item and it has a variation matrix, and that variation matrix is going to have your 1, your 3, and your 6 bottle product at a straight sale price, and then it'll have another variation for whether it's subscribe and save. And that style of CTA where they're picking 1, 3, 6 and then original or subscribe and save, you can take that same visual builder block of CTA code and use that in the upsell to have that. And so the offer item is going to be the main parent item, and then it should display all of the different variations for them to pick from. So, we're not demonstrating it here, but, the upsell can have one item. You can pitch multiple items on a page. Like, hey, here's a list of accessories. Pick how many of each quantity you want. You can do there's templates for video as well as images. So you can get fairly creative in how you're pitching it. The same visual builder content you use on the front end, you can use in your upsells. So it's worth noting, and we didn't really touch on it a ton, but once they're past the upsells, we want to keep them in that lane. We want to keep them in the finish the checkout lane. So you'll notice we limit the header and the footer. We don't want to give them options to go outside of this process. And if you have a large number of upsells, there is a nice little button that just says My Receipt that you can configure, and that says, I'm done with upsells, just take me to my receipt. And so if you're going to go more than 3 upsells, or if your upsells have large or long content, you may want to consider implementing that strategy. So
that was one of the questions I received, is what happens if someone during that upsell process just closes the window or just abandons?
So what UltraCart's going to do is it's going to keep a timer running, and after 45 minutes of inactivity, we have a process called the upsell closer, and it will turn that cart into an order. So it's going to initiate the charge of the credit card or PayPal or whatever the payment method is and close that out. If for some reason there is a failure, maybe their card's declined, then we'll send that to accounts receivable with a note. We'll send the customer an email giving them an opportunity to update that card and fix their order. So you can get a large number of abandons if your upsells are very long and complicated and they feel like it's the never-ending story. But UltraCart will do a good job of converting those into orders. You will see in the statistics, and maybe you can pull that up, Chris, one of the statistics should be abandons. So if you're looking at your statistics view and you see a large number of abandons, then that's an indication that maybe you've pushed your upsell gauntlet a little too far, or that offer is a little too long, or they were just confused on where to click no. So pay attention to the abandon number, and if that starts creeping up as a percentage, that's where you need to focus your attention on your upsell.
Awesome. Jonathan, you also previously mentioned video, and we had a question about videos. Can we do a video sales letter where buttons or the continue button doesn't show until a certain timestamp in the video or something, so that users have to watch some portion of a video before continuing?
So you can use the video element in your upsell, and you can have it autoplay, and at a particular time within the video, and you configure that in seconds, you can tell the video element to show other elements. So what's common is someone will have a row that has the yes and no buttons. They'll set that to hidden by default, and then the video element at the particular time in the video will go ahead and trigger that to show. And so you can do all that. You don't have to write any JavaScript or anything like that. Be nice to your customers, though. Give them the yes and no button after just a little bit of time. Don't be one of these, like, it's a 30-minute video and we're not showing you the buttons till the last 60 seconds. You're going to have a high abandon rate, and you're going to have a lot of upsell closer activity. So,
yeah. And then the last question I have comes from someone who must have come to one of the previous webinars where you're talking about BigQuery. And the question here is upsell data available in BigQuery to be able to digest it and use it?
That's definitely a good question. There are 3 tables in BigQuery. One is going to be the paths. So it's going to be a table that describes the current paths of your storefronts. Another table is going to be the offers, and that's all the little blocks within your path. And then the final table is going to be the events that are happening. Those are your statistics. And they are decently complicated queries to roll that up. So we have sample queries on docs.ultracart.com. So if you go to docs.ultracart.com, search BigQuery, and in those sample queries, there are a number of queries to help you analyze your storefront upsell data. So you can calculate in your BigQuery reports basically all the data that you're seeing in the screen right here.
One common report we build is we look at the starting item and its upsell effectiveness with different upsells, and that helps us, identify starting items that maybe have a low upsell ratio or upsell percentage, and that sort of gives us a starting spot of, well, maybe we need to carve those into their own upsell path and do some more specific things to kind of test our way to find out why that particular customer type or category isn't converting as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I have so far for QA. If anybody has additional questions, feel free to shoot those over after the webinar. Just send those into support at UltraCart, and we'll get back to you with answers, and we'll include those and include these QA items in the webinar summary.
Fantastic. And I really do appreciate everyone jumping on this webinar. We're getting better at them as we go. One thing, because we figure with Q4 coming up and upsells being such a big part and then being so confusing to configure, that anyone that's on the webinar here, if you want to toss your email here to Tyler, we're happy to connect with you at Scaling, and we're happy to offer you, 2 or 3 free hours of consulting to take a look at your upsells, look at what you're doing, possibly offer some ideas and some assistance there. So we're happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, do you have a poll form for the next webinar to pop up?
I don't have one, actually. Now that I think about it, I didn't configure that before we did it. So if you just want to put in, there's a lot of topics we can cover next. Some of the ones have been requested is looking on the data side at attribution, post pixel firing, all the server side event stuff in terms of attribution back to advertising platforms and UTM parameters. That's been one highly requested. We've also talked about doing one about experiments and the front end of the system with on-page experiments. That's been another one that's been highly requested, but we're open to any ideas. And if there's something out there you particularly want us to take a look at or cover in one of these, we'd love to hear from you and hear any ideas you have.
Well, as always, we appreciate everyone's time, and a copy of this will be emailed out in the next week or so, and you can go back and review it. And if you have any technical questions, reach out to support@ultracart.com. And if you have any consulting needs, definitely feel free to engage Scalene. Excellent team. They build gorgeous work, and they know the platform very, very well. And we will see you on the next webinar.
Yes. Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, everybody, for coming.